7 pitch. Harper hits one in the air, left center field. Back it goes. Harper, the swing of his life. It is bedlam at the bank.
Swung on, crushed, and the Phillies are going to lead it 4-0.
Now Harper sends one in the air, way back to right center. That one's gone. This place explodes. It's good. Right center field. Lightning strikes. Right field. Segura's out. Castellanos out. And the Philadelphia Phillies are going to the World Series.
Welcome to episode 28 of the Bell Ringers podcast, brought to you by SeatGeek. Use code Philly Sports Report at SeatGeek to save $20 off your first purchase. The season is here, and I am joined by Mr. Alex Carr. We are previewing the season. We're looking back at spring training. Alex, how are we doing? It's a great time to be alive.
It is a great time to be alive, Ben. I'm very excited. Obviously, it's my favorite time of the year. I'm kind of sad. It's my first time kind of being away from Philadelphia to cover the season, and that makes me a little nostalgic, but at the same time, very excited to, experience this kind of baseball, this level of competitive baseball from the Philadelphia Phillies in the city of New York. I'm kind of behind enemy lines a little bit. Yeah.
Who's Emily?
Anyway, behind enemy lines a little bit. So I'm really excited, but I think especially getting to kind of watch from afar, getting to, I'm really close to both City and Yankee Stadium. So I'll get to see a lot of the Philadelphia Phillies this year, and I'm very, very excited about it.
And when the Phillies win the World Series this year, you now have two different fan bases to laugh in their faces about it.
Precisely right. Indeed.
So, before we jump ahead to the World Series championship, which we all know we're winning this year, we have to rewind back to spring training. Today's Tuesday when we're recording this, so spring training is over. The last game was today. Derek Hall had the walk-off double. I want to know a few guys that impressed you at camp this year.
There's quite a few. And what's really interesting is I think this is probably the first year where you can kind of sit back and relax when you're watching spring training baseball. And that is not often the case with the Philadelphia Phillies. But, most of the roster battles, as it were pretty much decided. All of the important ones, at least. Obviously, some wrenches thrown into the mix, some injuries, some issues that, weren't exactly foreseen, but lots of really, really great stepping up from some guys. I will include first and foremost Jake Cave. He probably impressed me the most of any player at all in camp this year. And look, we are very used to seeing, those random guys pop up. We have the Mickey Moniacs. Bryson Stott had an incredible spring last year. It didn't exactly translate to the major league level, at least at first. So we're used to being cautious when it comes to analyzing, spring training performances. That being said, Jake Cave has put up some incredible hard hit metrics. He was dealing with a broken vertebrae a couple of years ago, kind of took last year to heal from that, and now is back and better than ever, it would seem. He's in the prime of his career. You really hope that what you saw out of him this spring is what you're going to get during the regular season, because he's going to get a lot more at bats, with the Rhys Hoskins injury, and obviously with Bryce Harper being out until at least late May. We're going to see a lot of Jake Cave, and you hope that in that time, you see the guy that we saw during spring. Same can be said for Derek Hall, obviously getting a lot more playing time now with Rhys Hoskins' unfortunate injury. But Derek really stepped up this spring, as you mentioned, walk-off double today. I think 5 total spring home runs, maybe 6. He's been outstanding. He's always outstanding in spring. I just really, really hope he makes the most of this opportunity given to him. It is going to be a really exciting year for him. I hope that, he gets the opportunity to get out there mostly every day. We still don't know what the Phillies might plan to do from a platoon perspective. At least we don't know yet. as of our recording this. But Derek Hall seems to be the guy, and that's going to be interesting to watch. It wasn't many years ago that Derek Hall was considered pretty much an organizational bat, a guy that wasn't going to make much of a difference, and now he's a big deal for this Phillies club. So it's going to be really interesting to see where he goes. I was really impressed with Cody Clemens, who the Phillies acquired from the Tigers this past offseason. Clemens, just again, another one of those guys hitting the ball really hard, playing in some odd defensive positions. He got some time at shortstop. Not something that I think he will be doing very much in his major league career, but he saw some time there for sure.
It's spring training.
Listen, it's spring training. But at the plate, he was excellent. Scott Kingery was great at the plate, as everyone has already heard enough about. And especially from a bullpen perspective, I was super impressed by McKinley Moore. He just really he showed out. He made the most of his time with the major league club. Obviously, was one of the last pitchers to be reassigned to minor league camp. So he is probably going to be one of those guys that you see, be there more injuries already. Unfortunate injuries. He's probably going to be one of those first guys to see called up, and I'm not upset about that. He looked excellent, so I'm very excited about him. Lots of guys really impressed me this spring, and obviously the majority of the primary roster was off competing with Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, but there were many guys from that perspective that impressed me as well. Obviously, Trey Turner had a spring that I think everybody's going to remember. Pretty incredible showing in the World Baseball Classic. Alec Boehm has looked remarkable. Obviously went a little bit colder in these last few days of spring training, but I mean, there's no denying that he has just looked like a completely different guy out there. Very excited to see what is in store for him in 2023. Really liked how Bryson Stott and Nick Castellanos started picking it up towards the end of spring as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention those guys. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good year.
Yeah, you can only hope after last year. I want to talk about the unfortunate side of spring training, which is the injuries. I want to start with Rhys Hoskins, the torn ACL. He's getting surgery on Thursday. What are your thoughts on the Hoskins? How is that going to affect the team?
It's rough. It's unfortunate. I feel very just sad. I don't know any other way to phrase it. I'm sad for him. I'm sad for Jamie. I'm sad for his free agent hopes. I'm even sad for Scott Boras at this point. Rhys Hoskins was staring down a 9-figure contract for sure, almost certainly, and now is probably. I don't know what kind of deal he's going to settle for in the offseason, but it certainly has had an impact on what kind of deal he is going to get. And that is really unfortunate, I think. I think that this team is really going to miss him. I think that this fan base is really going to miss him. I think, you don't really know what you have till it's gone. And that is certainly the case with Rhys Hoskins. It is going to be really hard for the Phillies to replace his production. That being said, I was very unsure as to Hoskins' future with the Phillies anyway past this year. I'm not sure how this changes that. It does feel like maybe it ups the chances a little bit of his sticking around. That being said, I still think there is going to be a team out there that needs a bit of a power boost. I'm looking at the Cleveland Guardians first and foremost. They are a team that lacks power. Josh Bell is going to be a free agent again after this season. They need a first baseman. Rhys Hoskins could be that guy. Could be a guy that, maybe they put primarily at DH, but he's always been a peripherals guy, and he is really going to garner a lot of interest, injury or not. So I don't know what his future holds here. I do know that he is incredibly exemplary of what this franchise has gone through over these last 6-7 years.
Yep.
And everybody in this fan base should be upset that he is going to be sidelined for the year. I hope that the Phillies are still in it, and maybe he can make a return in the postseason. who's to say? I doubt he would be fit enough to play the field either way, so his playing time would probably be limited. But either way, I hope everybody gives him the send-off he deserves, whether that means he's returning to the team in free agency or not. Because Rhys Hoskins is a stand-up guy that very much deserves the admiration and respect of the Philadelphia fan base.
Something with Rhys Hoskins, I feel like when he kind of is the Philadelphia Phillies over the last how many years? 6 years.
Yeah.
When he's hot, so is the team. When he's
True.
not, when he is struggling, the team is struggling. Like, it's just the whole team relies on him, and he just seems like he's everyone's best friend in the clubhouse as well. It's gonna hurt the team. Going into the offseason, Rhys Hoskins, what does a deal look like for him to possibly bring him back to Philly?
I think that is more up to Scott Boras than it is to Rhys Hoskins and the Philadelphia Phillies. I think Boras knows this market better than anybody. Obviously, Hoskins, prior to the injury and still probably after the injury, is the best bat available in the free agent class, not named Shohei Ohtani. So that makes this very, very interesting. There is a big difference when you hit the free agent market there is a big difference when you are a free agent that is 30 years old and when you are a free agent that is 31 years old. 30-year-olds tend to be looked upon kinder than 31-year-olds. And I think we are probably going to see that with Rhys Hoskins. I think we're probably going to see Scott Boras try and push for a free agent deal rather than accept maybe a qualifying offer from the Phillies, rather than accept maybe a 1-year prove-it deal from the Phillies. I don't think that's the way of Scott Boras. I think he's more inclined to, let Hoskins go to free agency, test the waters a little bit. At worst case, like what happened with Didi Gregorius when he declined the Phillies qualifying offer, maybe the team will bring him back. Or I can't even remember at this point if the Phillies extended Gregorius a qualifying offer. I actually don't think they did.
I don't think
so. I'm probably wrong there. But it's a similar situation in that the Phillies are absolutely going to extend Hoskins' qualifying offer. He'll test the market, I would guess. And then, if the market's not what he was hoping for, maybe he returns to the Phillies. But I think he's probably going to find a satisfactory deal elsewhere. And I think it will be one that favors more years rather than annual average value. I think he's gunning for that big payday.
Mm-hmm. What's the percentage, do you think, of him returning to Philadelphia?
I'm going to give it a very generous 25% chance. I think the chance is very slim. And I think that because this team already has their sights set on the free agent that they want next year. It's Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is the guy that the Philadelphia Phillies want to extend. I don't even recall seeing a report out there that the Phillies and Rhys Hoskins were engaging in long-term extension talks. I don't think that his future here was ever really that much of a question. I think that, again, they're going to extend him a qualifying offer. If he accepts it, great. You get Rhys Hoskins for another year. That's excellent. But I really don't think he was long for the team either way. I think that his fit resides best with a team that sees him as a primary designated hitter. Phillies do not see him that way. And I think that he could probably benefit from a lineup with, heck, maybe a little less protection. I think he does well when he's the guy, right? He does well when he's the big power bat in a lineup. And I think that's probably what he's going to be wherever he ends up, whether that's, maybe Baltimore takes a shot. Maybe Tampa Bay likes what they see. Cleveland, I think there's a lot of teams out there that could use his power in their lineup and his veteran presence. So I think, 25% is probably a little generous even then. But, the Phillies, it all really depends how the season goes, right? Maybe mid-season, they look for an acquisition at the deadline. Christian Walker is a name that gets thrown around. He's got a couple of years of control. Maybe they look for even a larger amount of control, like Ryan Mountcastle from the Orioles, something like that. There are a lot of guys out there that fit what the Phillies need. But if they go out and they end up acquiring a first baseman at the deadline because, Derek Hall, whoever is not cutting it, if that first baseman has more than, a year's worth of control, there is that 25% chance, that even very generous 25% chance, drops to zero.
Yeah.
Like absolute zero. And they will still extend him a qualifying offer because it nets them a draft pick. But I don't think, like I said, 25% is probably generous.
Yeah, I see that. Do you think Jamie's still going to buy some fans a beer in the playoffs this year?
I think so.
Okay.
I think Reese will still be a big part of this team.
Oh, yeah. He seems like a guy that would stay in the clubhouse.
And I think that, for as long as they're here, we will see them play a big part in Philadelphia as a whole. And I think Jamie is definitely going to embrace this probably being the Hoskins last year in Philadelphia. And I truly, truly just hope that they land somewhere that appreciates them and ends up being a little bit less divisive than Philadelphia was for them.
Speaking of landing a deal, let's move on to that guy you said earlier named Aaron Nola. I don't know if you've heard of him. You kind of named your dog after him.
I did. It's true. Or did I? Maybe it was New Orleans that I named my dog after. You'll never know.
Maybe. So this is straight from Alex Coffey's tweet. Dave Dombrowski says that conversations with Aaron Nola's camp about a contract extension have broken off. This was tweeted on March 25th. Today's the 28th. The quote from Nebraska: "We think the world of him. Quality pitcher, quality human being, but sometimes you get to this point where you're not able to. I struggle with this word. CONUSSUMMATE. Consummate a deal that both sides feel comfortable. We're very open-minded to trying to sign him at the end of the season. We are hopeful he'll remain a Philly for a long time." What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think I truly, truly believe, and this is just my best guess, but I do not think the Phillies will let Nola walk in free agency. I think maybe they'll let him touch the market, but I think they'll probably try and outbid whoever, tries to get their grubby little paws on the ace of their staff. I think Aaron Nola is the perfect choice as an arm to anchor down a rotation that is looking to have a lot of youth injected into it over the next couple of years. You've got Andrew Painter, you've got Mick Abel, Griff McGarry could make a difference. These are guys that are going to need a mentor, and Aaron Nola is the perfect mentor for them. Nobody knows how to keep calm under pressure, especially the Philadelphia pressure, like Aaron Nola does. And I really, really do think the Phillies do whatever they can to bring him back, even if that means, overpaying in a sense. I think that he's the guy. He's who they want to anchor their rotation, and I think they'll get their wish.
What does an Aaron Nola deal look like?
I think it looks a lot like what we saw this offseason, be given to like somebody like Carlos Rodon. I think it looks very similar to the Kevin Gausman deals, the Robbie Ray deal that we saw a couple of years back. Granted, Aaron is probably a little bit pricier than those guys. I would say, depending on how long a team is looking to lock him up, probably like a 6-year deal with a 27 million annual average value, something around those lines. I could see a team push to 7 years. I'm not sure I see it breaking the $30 million mark, but it definitely could. He's the most durable pitcher of the last 10 years. I'm really mixing up some words that he's the most durable pitcher of the last decade of baseball, right? I can't name a single guy that has been as stalwartly able to produce innings than Aaron Nola. I truly can't. And there are guys like Sandy Alcantara who, last year, obviously an anomaly of a year for the modern pitcher. But I don't think I can see anyone, being like Aaron Nola in the span of the next 5 years. The guy has, fought through some struggles, but man, he's pitched over 200 innings over, in 5 of his last 6 seasons, or maybe four of his last 6 seasons. Nobody does that anymore. It just doesn't happen, right? So I really, really, I hope the Phillies can consummate a deal at some point that really, it feels like he's the guy to anchor this rotation for the next generation of Phillies baseball.
I completely agree. Let's move on to the season. Opening day. We are less than 48 hours away as of recording this. Alex Carr, what is your lineup prediction against Jacob deGrom on opening day?
Well, here's the deal. Unfortunately, the Phillies are without their best bat, not only their best bat in general, but their best bat against Jacob deGrom. Bryce Harper has Jacob deGrom's number. He's like a lifetime 300 hitter against him. So, I would feel a lot more comfortable were he in the lineup. Unfortunately, that is not the case.
No.
And that makes things a little bit difficult. I don't think we are going to I don't think we're going to see a lot of guys that are going to be patient against Jake deGrom. As things currently stand, Derek Hall is going to be in the opening day lineup, as is probably Jake Cave. Those are not guys that I think are used to seeing 102 mile an hour fastballs and biting, 93 mile an hour sliders out of Jacob deGrom's arm slot. That is going to make things a little bit difficult. I do think, however, deGrom will be on a pitch count, almost certainly. And we're talking like 75, 85 pitches, right? Mm-hmm. So if the Phillies can be patient and work some strong at bats, I do think that if they can usher him out of the game by the 5th, 6th inning, they've got a shot. The Rangers have. Yeah. You go ahead. No, please.
The Phillies have some guys that can work at bats. We've seen Bryson Stott, the young kid, do it against veteran pitchers. We have in this lineup Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. There's veterans in here that can work some counts and get this guy out of the game.
Totally. And unfortunately, most of them have pretty poor numbers against deGrom lifetime, but
most people
who's to say yes, that's very, very true. Who's to say, that deGrom shows up looking like himself? Who's to say that, there's so many ifs. It's opening day, for goodness sake. But if they can work him out of the game by the 5th, 6th inning, I do think there's a chance that Aaron Nola can keep the Texas offense under, a couple of runs. I do think there is a chance that the Phillies can take this one. I'm not entirely optimistic about it, but the Rangers bullpen is their big fatal flaw, right? That bullpen is looking gross in the bad way. So I think that if they play their cards right and they go in with a succinct game plan and everybody kind of matches up to it, I think they can take it home. But Aaron Nola needs to show up, and the offense really needs to get ready to work some counts. But as of right now, I have them on the loser's end of opening day, but I would be thrilled to be wrong. And I would I think we're going to be able to more accurately predict what's going to go down once we have the, opening day statements from the managers, as it were. Once we know what deGrom's pitch count is, once we know who is exactly slotting into the opening day lineup, once we know all those things, I think it'll be a little easier for us to predict. But right now, not as optimistic as I hoped I would be.
So what's your opening day lineup prediction?
My opening day lineup prediction probably looks a little something like Trey Turner. I'm going to say JT Realmuto batting second. I think that might be the direction they head. I'm not really sure, but they need to be able to separate these left-handed hitters. So then, maybe Kyle Schwarber batting third, Nick Castellanos batting cleanup, ? I want to throw Alec Boehm up there a little bit higher. So maybe actually what I'll do, Trey Turner leading off, Kyle Schwarber batting second, Alec Boehm batting third. I know that's bold, but we got to get bold here. JT Realmuto hitting cleanup, perhaps. Derek Hall batting 5th. I think they'll throw. Who would I bat 6th? I guess Nick Castellanos. That feels a little low for him while the lineup is.
I wrote mine down and I don't like how it looks. So you keep going.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one. I think it's going to be very matchup based. It's going to be a lot like when Bryce Harper went down.
Yeah.
For that brief time or not exactly a brief time, but in 2022 when Bryce Harper went down, they really switched up the lineup a lot. So anyway, 6th I might go Nick Castellanos. I might mix that up a little bit. But who's to say at this point? 7th I'd go Bryson Stott. 8th I'd probably go. This leaves 3 lefties at the bottom of the lineup, so I'm not sure how much I like it. But
this is the predicament I was in.
I'd probably go Bryson Stott. No, I'd go Jake Cave 7, Brandon Marsh 8, and Bryson Stott 9 to kind of wrap around the lineup a little bit cleaner. I'll probably change that answer once I sit down with it a little bit more. But for now, I think that's probably the way that you have to go.
So mine was I have Turner leading off at short, as much as I hate it because I love Kyle Schwarber leading off because it's just such a fun. He's such a fun leadoff hitter.
Nah, I like Turner up there.
Oh, having Trey Turner, you have to put him at leadoff. But Kyle Schwarber to me is just so fun to have.
Yeah, it's fun.
You either have a strikeout to start the game, a walk, or he hits a short bomb. It's just such a fun way to start the game. You never know.
Wouldn't you rather him have some guys on base for the short bomb?
Of course. It's just fun. So I have Turner leading off. I have Schwarber 2nd, JT 3rd, Hall 4th. I have Castellanos 5. I hate this, but I have Cave at 6, so I can separate the lefties.
No, I don't mind that.
I don't like having the rookie 6, especially against DeGrom, but it's okay. And then I put Bohm 7, and then I have Stott and Marsh wrap it out 8 and 9.
Yeah, I think I'm going to change my answer, actually. I kind of want to go Turner to... This is so hard.
Yeah, it's
because I don't want to stack 3 righties at the top against Jacob deGrom. That feels like a really easy way to get it out.
Yeah.
So, oh man, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I might go Turner, Real Muto, Schwarber, Castellanos, Hall at the top 5. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd have to sit down with it and think it through. Rhys Hoskins' injury has really shifted the dynamic here.
Sure has. What's our record prediction?
I have the Phillies going with 90 wins. I think 90 wins is a nice total. I think I don't necessarily know if the health is going to make as big an impact as I think it is. Obviously if the Phillies go out and they acquire a permanent answer at first base, that probably changes things a little bit for me. But right now, I think 90 wins is a nice total. I also think that, it very much hinges on how they fare health-wise down the stretch. Obviously, they've already suffered quite a few tough injuries, and that's going to be pretty rough to come back from. So I only hope 90 wins is as safe a prediction as it feels. But they won 87 last year with, dealing with quite a few hampering injuries as well. So I'm feeling okay about 90 wins.
Is that 3rd in the division?
Yes, but I also think where they place in the division very much relies on how the Mets overcome the loss of Edwin Diaz. Mm-hmm. I think that is going to be more the deciding factor of divisional placement, rather than the Phillies excelling. I think it's more going to come down to how well the Mets do.
All right, that makes sense. Mine is I have the Phillies at 89 and 73. I have them
it makes sense.
Just under 90 wins. I can't jump the 90 win with Harper out half the year.
Feel that.
Who knows how long Ranger's going to be out for? You're losing Hoskins for the year. So I'm keeping them at 89. They had 7 last year, so that's 2 more than last year. I just can't reach into the 90 yet.
I hear that.
I found this idea from John Boy Media's Shea Station. Love John Boy. The top 10 NL East players. So that is including the 2023 injuries. So Edwin Diaz out for the year. Rhys Hoskins out for the year. Harper out for half of the year. So that's probably going to change your ranking. So would you like to begin with your top 10?
I will let you. I'm a bad guest, and I didn't write mine down, but I have a pretty good idea as to who I'm including. But I'll allow you just in case I'm forgetting somebody.
All right. So I will start off at number 10. I am going with Spencer Strider at my 10.
Interesting.
All right. So I wrote it down and I lost the paper. I'm very good at that. So
excellent.
I'm kind of freaking out. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm putting Taijuan Walker at 10 and I'm putting Spencer Strider at 9.
Interesting. Okay.
I got a big year from Taijuan Walker coming up. So number 8, that will put me with I'll go Aaron Nola 8. I think Zach Wheeler is the better pitcher. Actually, no. Max Fried 8. I'm forgetting Max Fried exists. So Max Fried 8. Nola 7. And then I'll go Zach Wheeler 6. And then Harper I'm putting at 5. With that injury,
even with the injury?
With the injury, when he's on the field, he is the best, one of, if not the best left-handed hitter in baseball. So I'm putting him at number 5.
I could agree.
If he was out, if he was in for the whole season, goes up the list. Number 4, I'm putting Max Scherzer. He's Max Scherzer. Number 3, I'm gonna go Trey Turner. I think Trey Turner is the best player on the Phillies. I think he finishes top 5 in MVP voting this year. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Justin Verlander, coming off his best career year, and he's 40-something years old. And then number 1, I'm going with Sandy Alcantara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was it?
Bold.
So I went Walker, Strider. What's his name? Fried, Nola, Wheeler, Harper, Scherzer, Turner, Verlander, Alcantara.
Okay. I think for me, at number 10, it's all about where I want to place these guys. I think at number 10, it's based off of how I think their year is going to go, right?
Yeah.
So at number 10, I'm going to throw Justin Verlander. I know that's a shock, but
why?
Listen, I obviously he's still a top 10 player in the division.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I have a really hard time seeing a 40-year-old pitcher, continue this pattern of dominance. I would love to be wrong. I love seeing Justin Verlander thrive. I was a big fan of his growing up. Even if it's for the Mets, I love seeing him play well. But I just kind of think, I don't know. I have a hard time foreseeing. It's not that anything in his expected metrics forebodes a less good season. It's just that I'm not sure I see it. So I'm going to be interested to see how his season pans out. But he's going to be my number 10 for now. Okay. Number 9 for me, I think I'm going to put Max Fried. I've never been a huge Max Fried fan, just from the perspective of his durability and how deep he goes into games. So that's going to be my number 9. Number 8 for me is Pete Alonso. I think he's still going to have a good year. I don't think it's going to be as great as it turned out last year, but I do think it's going to be a very, very good one for him. Obviously he is staring down a big extension. So I think all Phillies fans probably want him to play well so that he further and further costs the Mets more and more money. Not that they care. But that's going to be my number 8. Number 7, this might be a little controversial. Yeah. I'm going to go Matt Olson. I think Matt Olson is going to be the best first baseman in the NL East. I think he's going to be the best first baseman in all of baseball this year. I think he's due for a massive year. And I'm honestly really, really excited to watch it. Number 6, I'm going to go Aaron Nola. I think Aaron Nola is going to have, or actually, I guess, number 6, I'm going to go Aaron Nola. I'm not including Zach Wheeler in this top 10.
Wow.
Only because I think this division is so stacked. And Zach Wheeler is probably due for a little bit of a regression. But I still think he's going to have a great year. I think somewhere in like the 3.3, 3.4 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, what would you have him? What, 11, 12?
Yeah, he's right outside the top 10.
This division's so good that Zach Wheeler isn't even in the top 10 in this division.
Division is absolutely stacked. So number 6 for me is Aaron Nola. Number 5 for me is going to be Max Scherzer. I think Max Scherzer is also just the best pitcher in this division, and I think he's going to be the guy that kind of carries the Mets rotation. I still don't know what to make of it as an amalgam, but I'm here for it. Number 4, I'm going to throw, this is hard for me, and I think it's probably wrong. Number 4, I'm going to throw Ronald Acuna Jr. Just because.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about it.
Yeah, you left him out.
Oh no.
I'm having a hard time throwing him under these top 3, like throwing him outside of the top 3. And really quickly, I'm going to make sure that I think very hard and am not missing anybody. But yeah, I think that's where he's got to go.
Right, when I edit this video, I'm throwing Acuna into this list. I can't believe I don't know how he went right past. And in the graphic I'm looking at, he's literally in the middle of the graphic.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Jolly.
And in fact,
Swift.
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna bump him up to the top 3, and I'm gonna put Bryce Harper at 4, just because if Bryce Harper comes back at the end of May, I think he's going to be able to produce. And I personally would not want to be on the receiving end of a 30-year-old Bryce Harper. We are talking peak physical form here, and I really don't think there's lots of projection systems projecting him for a less good season or whatever. I think he's got to be in this top 5. He just has to be. If he gets back by the end of May, it doesn't even matter. Then I'll put Acuna 3, just because I think you can't not put him in the top 3. You just can't. Trey Turner is going to go at 2 for me. I do think he has a great shot at MVP this year. I also think that, there is every reason to believe that Acuna can go over Turner. I just think it's going to take a little bit more proving on his end, just because, he was out with the ACL injury, and last year he came back and it wasn't as great as I'm sure Braves fans would have liked it to be. But I think that's going to be a really interesting battle to watch unfold. And then number 1, I'm same as you. I have Sandy Alcantara, just doing unprecedented things at this point in time, doing incredible things for the game of baseball and for the starting pitching position, which is falling out of favor, apparently.
Yep. All right. Staying with the hot takes. Give me one positive and one negative hot take. This can either be all of baseball, just Phillies. I'm not just going to be just Phillies, but give me your hot takes.
My hottest take, I think I'm going to stick with this one. My hottest take that I kind of came up with off the cuff on another podcast that asked for it on a whim, and I didn't have a lot of time to think. I think it's going to be that Craig Kimbrell leads the Phillies in saves this year. I think that he is going to cement himself into that role. I love the arms that the Phillies have at the back end of the bullpen. Obviously, they have a lot of options. Alvarado, Soto, Dominguez, maybe somebody else comes to fruition along the way. But as of right now, I am staunchly of the belief that Craig Kimbrell is going to cement himself in the closer's role. It's not that I think he looked incredible this spring. I don't think he looked, all that great. Obviously, some really good numbers, but, he was still cresting 95 with the fastball, and you'd obviously like to see that tick up a little bit. But I do think he's going to get the nod more often than not by Rob Thompson. One negative hot take, I guess, that I'll have is that Phillies fans are going to be extremely recanting when it comes to their bold Rhys Hoskins takes. I think that the Phillies are really not going to be able to sufficiently cobble together enough of a an amalgam to replace the production that they would have gotten out of Rhys Hoskins. I do think they probably end up fixing that mid-season, but I think by then it probably will be too late. So we'll see what happens. I could be totally wrong, but I unfortunately think that Rhys Hoskins is. A lot of people think that that kind of bat is relatively easy to replace, and that is not the case in Major League Baseball.
Especially not Rhys Hoskins, who we said has basically been the Philadelphia Phillies since 2017. A positive hot take from me: Alec Boehm is going to have over 25 home runs. I think Alec Boehm. I think he explodes with the power this year. He gained those positive LBs. He was killing the ball in spring, and I think he continues that throughout the summer. So I think he has a huge power year. One negative,
I think he crests 20 for sure. I think
he'll get that plus 25. My one negative is he's going to be a little better than he was last year, but I have no faith in Nick Castellanos.
Wow.
I have no faith. The start he got off to in spring, he was batting like .018 or something. He got a little better in the end, but I just can't get anything out of him. Like there's no hope that comes to me when I watch him at the plate. I mean, if they keep him defensively how they had him in the playoffs, he'll end up being a better defender than the guy at the plate, which is not what we expected. But I think he'll have a better offensive year than he did last year, but by this much.
Interesting.
So give me a all MLB hot take.
An all MLB hot take?
Give me one.
I think the Guardians are so much better than anyone gives them credit for.
I agree with that.
I think the Guardians are going to shock a lot of people. I also think the Twins are going to shock a lot of people, but I think the Guardians more so are going to shock a lot of people, and I have them winning that division. That rotation is really good. That lineup got the exact amount of power that it needed in Josh Bell. And Josh Naylor also, kind of solidifying himself. But especially Josh Bell, that lineup is looking good, and that bullpen obviously is crazy. So I think they're going to shock a lot of people. They are one of the more complete teams across baseball, in my opinion, and doing that on the budget that they have is really impressive. So good for them, I guess. I don't really like to laud teams that cry poor, but good for them.
All right. Where do you think the Phillies end up this year? What's the expectation?
You mean postseason wise?
Yeah.
I think they lose in the NLCS. I think they get to, they get to the postseason, and I think it's going to be really hard to shut this offense down in the postseason, as they proved, last year, obviously. Yeah. I think the rotation is way too good, to not help that offense out to the degree that it needs. So I don't really see them, losing in a wild card or a divisional round. But I do think that they probably lose to the Padres in the NLCS. I just have the Padres winning it all. I think that team is really, really scary. And I think that they probably go all the way this year. That's just a hunch. Who's to say what happens during the season, at the trade deadline? Who knows? But I honestly don't see any team in the National League making it past the Padres. That is just what I think.
I hope you're wrong, because I absolutely hate the Padres. There's so many hateable.
I love them.
Team. I've always despised Manny Machado.
Oh, I love him.
Always hated Manny Machado. Fernando Tatis Jr. has gone on my hate list. And then Juan Soto's Juan Soto. He's been killing the Phillies forever.
I fell in love with them in 2020, and it has never ceased. I think they are a really fun team to watch.
Well, I hope you're wrong with that take. So your expectation is that they get to the World Series season success?
Oh, I mean, I think that's anybody would be happy that their team gets to the World Series. I think they make the postseason again a success. Honestly, just mostly because they have already dealt with a lot of unfortunate injury. So, them being able to, cobble together some depth and really make a run again would be outstanding, I think, just because of the hand they've been dealt.
Yeah, I agree with that. My expectation, you know what? We're winning the World Series, baby. Let's go. Red October. Let's go. No, I don't even know. I don't know where we're gonna end up this year. With the injuries. And I don't know. I'm going with the wind.
Yeah.
Wherever this team lands is where they land, you know?
Agreed.
I obviously hoping for a parade, but I don't know. So anything else from you? Where can people find you on social media?
People can find me at Alex Carr MLB on Twitter, or you can come hang out in our Discord. I have been a little less present than I was towards the beginning of the spring, but I'm really, really loving it. We just started a fantasy baseball league. We're having a great time. Come check that out. Outside of there, find me on Twitch at Take a Ball. Hoping to get back to streaming at some point. Life makes things hard sometimes, but we are pushing through. But all in all, just follow me on Twitter if you want to stay up to date. I love doing what I do. It's really fun.
All the links for that will be in the description. Also in the description, PhillySportsReports.com. Go check that out. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the Philly Sports Reports social media is down there. To buy your SeatGeek tickets, link in the description below as well. This has been episode 28 of the Bell Ringers podcast, brought to you by SeatGeek. Thank you, Alex Carr, for joining us. I pointed the wrong way. You're this way.
You're this way for me, so it's okay.
I think we're swapped. All right. Go Phillies. Let's go.
Thanks for having me. Go Phils.
Let's go.